Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
And welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm April Martinez.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And good morning, Belize. Thank you so much for joining us this lovely Monday morning.
It is a lovely Monday morning.
Well, I shouldn't say it's a bright Monday because I didn't get to see the sunrise. I actually thought it was raining in Belize City.
Yeah.
Because as I was driving up, you know, the giant
the
clouds,
clouds, yeah.
But there was like, you could see the lightning from afar.
Oh, wow.
So it was a beautiful, well, I personally enjoyed a beautiful view of this lightning within the clouds and so forth. So I thought it was raining. I thought I was going to meet rain when I came to the city this morning.
I don't think we experiences bouts of rainfall over the weekend here in Belize City.
Yeah.
I think there were very small periods and there wasn't a lot of rain. So we had to endure the heat of the sun this weekend, and it was
I thought it was just Belmopan.
No, it was extremely hot this weekend. I stepped outside for a moment on Sunday, and I was like, the sun,
can't do this.
Please,
nope, can't do
take
this.
your time,
no.
take it easy, and I quickly ran back inside.
I don't think I stepped outside until the evening yesterday.
Yeah.
It was really, really hot. And you know, Paul, I know that this is a far off topic on what's buzzing, but it's already almost the end of September.
I was going to bring that up, you know.
October, and I still feel like it's summer weather. You know, we're going into October, and there seems to be no sign of coolness in any kind of way. Yes, we're still in the hurricane season and so forth, but you know, by now I would think that the temperatures would at least go to 90, 88 for the highs, but we're still at 95 degrees or so. It's very, very, very hot.
Yeah, I mean, that has something to do with the hurricane season, I would imagine, as well. We usually have these hot weathers. I know you're looking for some cool April, but I think one of the reasons why we see a lot of tropical systems spin up through the Caribbean and these parts around this time, more so than any time during hurricane season, is because of this type of heat and because of this type of weather that we experience. Now, you may be talking more end of November going into December weather, and we're not quite there
yet. I think that we're still, well, I was kind of alluding towards more on climate change and global warming. Seeing as we have more hurricanes going into the North Atlantic, hurricanes going all the way up into Canada, you know, those colder areas that is supposed to not experience this kind of weather. I think just this year alone, record hurricanes in different places that haven't experienced hurricanes in centuries, really. It's to me, I'm finding it a little bit scary. We've had these earthquakes, I believe, in the Middle East, in India, in other parts of the world, and I'm finding it more and more difficult to think that we're in a safe space when we can't or we shouldn't talk about climate change is something that is obscure or far away from us, when in reality we're experiencing it every single day. If you sit down and you sweat in a December, something is wrong.
Weather has just become so unpredictable at this point in time, but you did make mention of the fact that this is the last week in September.
Yes.
And I wanted to stick up in there because what a September it has been.
We can do a recap.
I mean, the recap, we'll spend the entire conversation doing a recap. There's so much that happened, and one of the things I know for sure is that Belizeans far and wide enjoyed themselves this September, and so kudos to the Celebrations Commission.
Celebrations Commission, yeah.
Kudos to the Carnival Association. Kudos to all those municipal planners and organizers. Kudos to event planners across the country who ensured that Belizeans across the country, wherever they were,
yeah.
Even the students, had something to celebrate, had a moment to reflect and remember why we celebrate independence, why we celebrate ourselves as Belize, as
yeah.
Belizeans. And my heart is filled from all the celebrations. I attended as much as I could have, spent as much money as I could have. I mean, one of the things about
Indeed.
September is, I think it's the boost that the economy gets because people are out and about.
Yeah.
So all these events, all these vendors get an opportunity. You're talking expo as well.
You know,
there was a lot to do and a lot of economy to flow.
I wanted to also add, because I kind of took a step back, because I was a part of a lot of the events and working these events and being a part of the planning. But what I really noticed when I stepped back and really did an assessment of the entire September celebrations, Paul, normally when we have holidays and long weekends, what do Belizeans normally do?
We flock to some part of the border neighboring communities.
And we didn't have that.
Okay,
This
not
month.
a lot.
Not a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and I was going to say, because I would say it every time we come up here, every single weekend there was something to do somewhere. In Belize.
Yeah.
And so we had, yes, sure, Belizeans, would flock to the border for the long weekend, but there was something to do here at home.
Yeah.
And we spend at home, the money stays in Belize. And that is what I really, really enjoyed about kind of assessing the September celebrations a bit. Carnival in Belize City, Carnival in Orange Walk, Carnival in Kikaker, we had Placencia, we had so many different expositions, so many different pop-up shops every weekend around the country, different entertainment festivities, day parties, night parties, concerts, all of these different events that allow the money to be spent here and to stay here.
Yeah, and
I think we should applaud ourselves.
Definitely, I was going to say
Yeah.
that's a very good thing, and that's a very good observation. The September celebration calendar wrapped up this weekend, in fact, with a gala at SCA celebrating women in leadership, women of influence, and women in power. And so the question or the debate now is, where do we go from here? Do we now take down the September celebrations, themed decorations, and do we go, it's only a debate, straight to Christmas?
No,
or do
absolutely not. How dare you?
Drive the bus and take a stop in
You have to
down south?
You have to drive the bus. You have Indigenous Peoples Resistance Day in
there
October.
You go. There you go.
have
My bad.
Finados. You
My
have
bad.
All Saints Day. You then have November celebrations. Then you have International Men's Day, and then you have Garifuna Settlement Day. Sir, we're going to drive the bus that Christmas.
That was a lot of stop.
Good.
That was a whole
we
excursion.
have a lot of stop. This is not an express bus. Straight regular.
Well, you see that why we have you on set, because you're not a tour guide. There's so much more happening in the weeks and months ahead, and I'm sure that Belizeans are looking for another reason to celebrate us, to celebrate Belize. And I think one of the more momentous moments will be Garifuna Settlement Day in November. And then, of course, it's Christmas. But I know there's a lot of people already counting down
people
to
say
Christmas.
the meme of Mariah
Jingle
Carey
bells.
melting in the ice
There
as she
you go.
breaks out to sing her Christmas songs.
So again, just congrats to all those who made September, this year's September, what it is. And I know that next year.
They're already planning for next year.
They're already planning for next year. I see carnival preparations already happening for next year. I see concerts already being planned, artists already being booked for next year, and so
hotels are already being sold out for next year.
And so that's one to look out for.
But that is just the tip of the iceberg on what's buzzing, but we gotta move on with what we do here every Monday, which is our Eye on the News segment.
For Garden City.
All right, and so for our Eye on the News this morning, there's a couple of things, interesting developments to discuss. This, of course, is where we have what is the best review of the news from in the week past, and that to come. And the first has to do with where we left off last week with the meetings with the Crown Council. Now, one of the things we have to understand, well, first let me just say the October session of the High Court was supposed to kick off last week, Monday, Tuesday, I believe.
Yes.
Each year, the High Court, or now is the Senior Court, which the High Court, formerly known as the Supreme Court, and the Appeals Court is there as well. They have 4 sessions annually. I believe it's 4 sessions. I may be corrected. And these sessions run for a few weeks. And in each of these sessions, matters are heard, whether it's criminal matters or civil matters. And what happened last week is that there was sort of a delay in the start of the High Court's October session, as several prosecutors decided to call in sick out. Now, for a bit more of the background, these prosecutors, they are important in the hearing of these criminal matters. These prosecutors or Crown Counsels are directly out of the Director of Public Prosecution's office. Prosecutors bring charges on behalf of the Crown, on behalf of the government.
Yes.
They bring the charges. They are the ones who are levying charges or levying cases. So without their presence in the court, then who is there to say that this is the charge we're bringing against this person, or this is the matter that we're bringing against this person, which puts these matters in a very precarious situation, because then defense attorneys are there to defend their clients, and it could easily become a case of aborted justice, where defense attorneys could argue, well, prosecutors aren't here, Crown Counsels aren't here, so is this even a case that we should hear? It could lead to a
be dismissed.
Right, so it could lead to a mistrial, and so you have to understand the importance of these Crown Counsels in the hearing of these matters. And I assume that these Crown Counsels, these prosecutors, they understand their importance in these matters. You have to understand their importance to understand how their absence impacts the course of justice, especially in cases where you have families waiting for years to get justice. We
already have a lag as it is in our court system.
We already have a lag as it is in our a backlog in our court systems, where cases are yet to be tried for years, and in the schedule, families hear, well, you know what, your case will come up in the October session, or it will resume, or we will hear it during this time, and then to hear that, wait, there's a delay because prosecutors are calling in sick, then that becomes a huge issue for the justice system, and it becomes a huge issue for the course of justice. Now, as I said, these prosecutors, they call in sick. And whether they were sick or not, that's up for
debate.
However, the sick out came on the heels of a letter that was sent to the AG office, signed by 11 Crown Councils, demanding increased pay, increased wages. I think within that letter, a 17% figure was brought up. I think that initially was a figure that was proposed, but it never, and that was 70% raise.
Wow.
That was proposed, but it never came into fruition. And there are also concerns for security. The time and age we live in, when you are dealing with alleged criminals, right? I would imagine there are security concerns there. You are the council seeking to put these individuals behind bars, using your arguments, using your evidence. You're in court on a daily basis. They're seeing you. You have family, you have friends, you're in the media. So there are security concerns, and they have a right to voice these concerns. And then on the other hand, as I said, you have families that want their cases to be heard, that want the accused to be tried in a court of law, and they have a right to demand that as well. And so here you have the precarious situation where on one end, prosecutors or crown counsels are demanding increased wages, saying that the last time they received an increase was in 2015, I believe. That's almost 8 years. Where did that fall short? How is it that they were overlooked for so long? And what made matters worse is the recent hiring of an attorney who they believe experience was a 2 years experience, less than 2 years experience at the bar. And he was hired for, this attorney was hired for a position within the judiciary that pays way more than what these more experienced individuals, crown counsels, were receiving. So all of this compounded that situation. So at the start of the October session, when all these matters are to be heard, these individuals said, hey, we are going to put our feet down, and we're going to call in sick. And what that did is that caused the DPP, the Director of Public Prosecution, to go in overdrive. She's the head of this department. She has to do something to ensure that, if nothing else, she's present, or there's a presence from her office in these hearings that are supposed to start to at least say, hey, we need more time. Adjournment, call for an adjournment. And so I believe last week she was from courtroom to courtroom to courtroom, ensuring that these adjournments take place. And so that's kind of the backdrop of what was happening last week.
I think my take on this entire situation, Paul, is that why is it that every time we need our voices to be heard, every time we need to be seen, or every time we need somebody in the higher-ups to pay attention to the fact that we're going through these problems, we have to engage in some sort of dramatic event? Why is it that we have to be the ones to say, all right, we strike because there's no other way that they're going to pay attention to us? Why is it that we have to do that? The reason why you hire these people, the reason why we have a court system, is so that our judicial system flows smoothly. Without them, we are all aware that without them, we can't do right and execute justice in the right manner. We can't do it. And so why take these folks for granted? Why take the work that they do for granted? And this is not a new song where we see somewhere in the public system that somebody else gets hired with less experience, gets a nice payout, and everybody else is there like, what? How did this happen? You know, it's not the first time we've been hearing. It's disappointing that we're still doing it, but how do we then secure the problem? I know that there was an interview with the financial administrator, Mr. Waite, and of course, Attorney Sylvester. But how do we then secure that the the conclusions are going to be met? How do we know that these people are going to actually receive the not just the payments, but the benefits that they were promised? How do we keep these people on their toes to secure that?
So yes, there was that meeting on Friday.
Yes.
That took place. And one of the truth of the matter is families that have been waiting for justice for years upon years don't want to hear that prosecutors are sick or staging a sick out.
They don't care about that.
They don't want to hear that government doesn't have the money to increase salary. They don't want to hear that government or the AG's ministry can't provide adequate or doesn't have the finances to provide security for these crown councils. That's not their concern.
No.
Their concern is, will we get justice or not? Will the judiciary function in the manner it is supposed to function? And that speaks to public confidence, April. That speaks to how confident are we that when a crime is committed, we won't have this sort of crumbling within this one system that we can go to.
That should be the expectation. And in any other developing high-class society, we see justice being served the right way, but it's not, again, it's not the first time we're having this conversation. We rightfully said there's a backlog in our justice system for many, many years. Every time, it boggles my mind that every time we report on a sentencing is because this crime was committed or this situation was created in 5 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, and now they're finally getting a sentence. Come on, right? So now that they've had this sick out for what, a week? Can you imagine now the amount of backlog that will take place?
Right.
It's incredible how we cry for a properly working justice system, and then at the end of the day, it's really and truly because these persons are not being paid their due diligence, and rightfully so. You and I would not come to work if we were not being paid properly. A lot of people would not go to work if they're not being paid properly. The teachers had an entire strike because they were not being paid properly. So do we fault these prosecutors? Sorry, no. But then again, we also need the system to flow like a well-oiled machine. Otherwise, like you said, it crumbles, right?
And I think that's the most important takeaway. And to be fair to the AG's office and to the government of Belize, I can't say that these discussions were not happening before. But like you said, it got to a point where those within the government realized that we have to put gas on this. We have to put our feet to the pedal and make something happen so that the judiciary could function in the manner it is meant to function. And so we had that meeting on Friday with the FinSec, Joseph Waith, and as well as the AG, Anthony Sylvester, along with Crown Council, disgruntled Crown Councils. And coming out of that meeting, we received word that all those Crown Councils that were on sick out, they're all of a sudden feeling better.
You know,
there
was a flu going around, Paul. I don't know about you, but I'm
that stomach bug.
Yeah, I'm kind of sniffling last week.
They take 1 or 2 NyQuil, and they're all doing better, and things should resume as per normal today. Unconfirmed reports are that there was a 17% increase agreement, an agreement to increase salaries by 17%. This is unconfirmed, and that there was an agreement to provide a security allowance for these councils as well. And so that coming to a solution bodes well for the judiciary, and it bodes well for these families that are waiting to hear their cases heard. And so that's one of the developments coming out of last week into this week, and certainly will continue to follow that. And moving from judiciary, April, I want to talk a bit about what's happening in Belmopan, particularly at the Belmopan City Council. Let me tell you, it's political season, and the municipals are coming up, and everybody goes rat-bat crazy. I don't want to use the word, so I use the censored term, rat bat crazy for this season. We've heard what's happening at the Belize City Council with Mayor Bernard Wagner and Deputy Mayor Alan Pollard. We see, and that's the PUP, we see what's happening in San Pedro with the UDP, with Jazz Azuete, and then now the former mayor, Guerrero, coming in to take her place. That's for central government, but that has municipal implications because it speaks to an image of the party on the island. And now we're in Belmopan. We saw on Independence Day how Mayor Sharon Palacios stole the show, if you would. She stole the show, and she, during her independence speech, which really, I don't know if how much of an independence speech it was. She took shots at central government. She took shots at her council as well, spoke of the enemies behind her. She spoke of not receiving monthly subventions. Now, and then we have some covers of her speech, which we can run. So we're going to run the speech.
Yeah, we're going to run it because there is a part there that I do want to emphasize on. So this is part of Mayor Sharon Palacios' welcome speech on the 21st of September.
Okay. As the first female mayor of our garden city, I have had to stand firm for principle and be the David amongst giants to accomplish the impossible. Ladies, don't you ever think for a second that being a woman in leadership in Belize comes with any special privileges. Women, we have a long way to go. To change the trajectory for women in politics, we need our men. Remember, we do need two wings to fly. And if one wing becomes incapacitated, the bird will not be able to fly. Despite not having our subvention coming to the council to support our operations, due to debts, and I won't call name, but of course, it was incurred by my predecessor, the UDP administration. I found a bed of corruption, everything that you can possibly imagine. But we won't go there because today is a day to celebrate. The Belmopan City Council, as I said before, was a sunken ship. And when this administration took office, one must appreciate the tremendous effort employed simply to keep us afloat. One would think that with intelligent people in office, and I'm referring to my own council, they would be ready to support development. For those of you who don't know, we had and still have the opportunity to invest in a $10 million bond to help develop our nation's capital. Even after I agreed to the added conditions imposed by my council, they have refused to sign. In trying to undermine my leadership, let it be known that our people are looking and they deserve better. Citizens and the nation's highest leadership, I challenge you to take this matter up as a case in point for problem solving for the benefit of the citizens of my beloved garden city. When you have plenty of enemies following you, bumper to bumper, and praying for you to fail, you must cleverly sidestep their landmines and coast to victory, leaving a legacy. With only 6 months remaining for me to deliver this garden city, I want to reassure the People's United Party that I stand ready to deliver the city of Belmopan once I'm given the opportunity.
Now, I only want to bring up the Mayor Sharon Palacios speech to highlight the fact that there is a rift that a lot of people are not seeing.
Well, I beg to differ.
No, well,
this rift, we have been seeing it as citizens in Belmopan. We have been seeing it from the onset of this council coming in.
And what she said during the Independence Day welcome address, I'm sure didn't bode well for her. Yeah. But I'm talking about credible information which suggests that the powers that be within the PUP, the movers and shakers within the PUP in Belmopan, are pushing Tariq Kano mayoral candidacy.
Yeah.
Now, that's the rift that a lot of people are not seeing at this time. Now, Tariq Kano is no stranger to
he was
politics
running before.
in Belmopan. He was running before. I believe he contested the convention.
Yes, and
in
then
which
of course the
he
PUP
lost.
endorsed Miss Sharon
Right,
Palacio.
but now what we're seeing here is Kano spending a lot of time in public alongside the area representative, that is Mira, and we've seen that. And so the big question here is, as we look to the weeks and months ahead in Belmopan, is if there will be a convention where Kano contests Mayor Sharon Palacio, or if there will be an endorsement for Kano, Tariq Kano for the city of Belmopan. What I'll tell you is that information to me is that they may be seeking an endorsement, but the Palacio camp, and I understand there's a coach in there as well, who's not sitting down idly to see that happen. And so that's one of the things we'll look out to see in the weeks to come in Belmopan. Some interesting developments.
It's going to be
there.
interesting, Paul, because you know, we've known, people that live in Belmopan, we know that there has been an issue with the council from the very beginning. And you know, as public as it may be, we hadn't seen much of any kind of development. And I'm not saying any kind of development in terms of what has been done in certain feeding programs and schools and so forth. Certain roads that were paved in Maya Mopan and Salvapan. But at the end of the day, we all were aware that there was a problem. And now we are seeing this exact, now with Kano's candidacy, we're seeing now more of a, not a larger rift, but now we're going to see where the current council places their allegiance, right? And that is what is going to be interesting to see in the months coming up ahead before we get to elections. But it was interesting to hear her speech when she's talking about being the first female mayor in Belmopan. And you know, for what it's worth, she's right. Being a woman in politics does not come with any kind of perks or privileges. We know that if we had that, we would have seen more women in politics. But be it as it may, I think we're going to keep a closer eye on this situation. I don't think it's going to be the last that we hear from her. And it's not going to be the last we hear from their council members either. So we're just going to have to see what happens next. I live there, so I take this personally.
Well, that does it for our Eye on the News for this morning.
All right, we got to move on with our show for this morning. And of course, what we do every morning here is we give you that weather update from the folks at the Belize Meteorological Service. As Paul and I were saying, it was a little bit cooler this morning after the long, intensive heat. I call it the heat wave for the weekend. It was very, very hot. So we're going to see if the folks from the Met Service have an update to see the turns and change in climate. And we have forecaster Crystal Rosales on the line. Good morning, forecaster.
Hi, good morning.
How are you this lovely Monday?
I'm good, thank you.
All right, well, we were talking about the change in weather this morning. So if you could give us a general situation for today, please.
Okay, relatively moist and unstable conditions will continue.
All right, and will that lead into our 24-hour forecast?
Right, skies will be sunny with some cloudy spells today and then becoming cloudy at times tonight. Showers or thunderstorms will be isolated with a few more occurring offshore this morning and then over inland areas this afternoon. And then for tonight, showers and thunderstorms will increase and spread over most places, but especially over the south and the coast.
And what about our marine conditions? Let's talk about our winds.
Okay, winds will be light and variable this morning at around 0 to 10 knots, becoming south to southeast later this evening at around 5 to 15 knots, and then sea conditions will be slight.
All right. And our temperatures for today, our highs and lows?
Okay, highs for today will be 90 along coastal areas, 95 inland, and 81 in the hills. And the lows for tonight will be 78 along the coast, 73 inland, and 68 in the hills.
All right. And our extended forecast for Tuesday and Tuesday night?
Okay, skies will be cloudy with a few showers and thunderstorms occurring mostly inland on Tuesday and then over most places on Tuesday night. And I must note that we have a strong thunderstorm watch in effect for the potential strong thunderstorms which will produce heavy rainfall, intense lightning, and damaging winds at times. And we do have a small craft caution also in effect for gusty winds and local eruptive seas, especially near heavy showers and thunderstorms.
And so does that tell me that there is a system out there somewhere creating this this new development?
Over us?
Over us or in the Atlantic?
We don't have any system over us. For this particular weather, we do have an upper atmospheric low, which is supporting the weather that we're presently having, but it's not a tropical system.
All right. Are there any tropical systems out there, though, that we should be cautious of this week?
We do have Tropical Storm Philippe, which was centered a few hundred miles east of the Lesser Antilles.
Okay.
And that poses no threat to Belize.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Crystal, for that update. And we are going to be keeping an eye on the weather for this week. Have a great day.
You're welcome, and you as well.
All right. Paul, we got to move on with our show
Yeah,
for
we
this
gotta move
morning.
on.
And we have two segments that are sure to be a conversation starter. We begin our first conversation with Commissioner of Police Chester Williams. And, you know, this conversation should be extremely interesting because we're trying to see how the murder rate has increased, decreased, progressed since 2012.
And then our second conversation, we're going to be joined by our friends from Beltrade, and they're going to be in with us to talk about budgeting and saving tips for small businesses and how you should cost and price your products, etc. So helpful tips for businesses in our second and final
I'm looking
segment.
forward to that conversation.
Definitely.
But we got to take the break, and when we come back, it's all about our conversation with Commissioner of Police Chester Williams. Stay with us.
Get ready, babe. We're going on a vacation.
Finally, where are we going?
Don't worry, babe. I have we covered.
Are you sure you know where we're going?
Yes, babe. Oh, right there. See? Babe, you pressed me too good to be true. Me look much more better in that picture.
When life throws you a curveball, Belize Bank has your back. With our online financing, you can turn any vacation mishap into a dream getaway.
Cheers to Belize Bank for making our dream vacation a reality.
Thanks to you, babes, to turn things around.
No thanks to you, cheapo.
Out.
Experience the future of financing with Belize Bank online, where you can secure funds for anything, from anywhere, at any time, all without stepping foot in a bank. Apply for a loan today and unlock a world of possibilities.
Visit Benny's today to get all your household and construction needs, from tiles to paints, electrical and plumbing supplies to power tools, lights and fans to kitchen appliances and faucets, gym equipment to household items. We have what you need. We also offer store-wide promotions for you, our customers, so you can enjoy deals and discounts all year long. To get more value for your purchase, take advantage of Benny's B-Bucks, which is free money. All you have to do is shop at any Benny's location or entity. Stop in at Benny's Home Center on Regent Street, Benny's Bargain Center on Freetown Road, Benny's Superstore 2.5 miles Philip Golson Highway, or Benny's Cayo 43 miles George Price Highway just outside Belmopan. Enjoy special offers, free delivery, and get rewarded with free money when you shop at Benny's today. Benny's, quality and savings.
We value your loyalty. Join our Sprinter Rewards program by contacting us today on the web at sprinter.bz and start earning points towards award travel. Sailing 5 or more segments a month gets you bonus points. So what are you waiting for?
Number one caller. Number one caller. Hey, number one caller. You know why? Listen, hey, for the best post and prepaid. You know that smart got you back. For the best service coverage. All we know that smart got you back. Travel and connect everywhere. You know that smart got you back. Smart record that'll go a long, long way. All we know that smart got you back. Do ya, Ben? Let's go. Do ya, Ben? This is our smart offer. The prepaid, the bundle, the postpaid, roaming, please don't forget the broadband and the prepaid. Best deals the bundles. No care what they say. Broadband for the family. You dollar when I long way. The roaming connect everywhere. The promos as we are family. Style up easy as 1, 2, 3, let's go. Every caller is the number one caller with smart, bringing people together.
What's up? It's your girl Kelly Kelson. I'm gonna be in the Civic Center in Belize. It is going down Saturday, September 30th. I am bringing the funniest people around the world to you. So Belize, make sure you get those tickets. It's gonna be fire. Another one. Y'all know how I do it when I pull up. If you don't know, you need to be there Saturday, September 30th to get those. I can't wait to see y'all. Bye.
They name fire for that comedy show. I want you.
All right, good morning once again, and we are back with our first conversation for this morning, and we have in studio with us a man who is no stranger to our studio. He's no stranger to the media. He needs no introduction. Nonetheless, we have with us the Commissioner of Police himself, Mr. Chester Clyde Williams. My apologies, sir. Good morning.
Good morning, Paul. Good morning, April. We're having April in the month of September, right?
You know, the joke will never get old. It really won't.
That's not a bad thing, but most importantly, good morning to your viewers and listeners across the country.
Good morning.
It's always a pleasure to have you, and we're always pleased that when we invite you on set, you accept our invitation because you are a man of many words, and in fact you could take over this show if it's not for us hosting, and so we're glad to have you for you to accept our invitation. Commissioner, I want to start with the fact that we're winding down the month of September. It's perhaps one of the busier months for the police department in terms of all the events and activities that takes place in this month. In fact, it starts from August. Let's do a quick roundup of the September's month of celebrations and how that went for the management and organization of police officers, dispatching of police officers across the country to ensure the safety of Belizeans who are in celebration mode?
Yeah, like you rightly said, Paul, September always is a busy month for the police. We had several what we refer to as major events, and as a department we always ensure that we plan for these events. Some of the major activities we had during the month, we have the 10th celebration, and then we have the carnival, the Juvet leading into the carnival, and then we have the 21st activities, starting with the state reception, then the flag raising, and then in the morning the official ceremony, and then parade. And again, as is customary, on the 21st we also have the Orange Walk Carnival, which as far as I can see is bigger than the Belize City Carnival. And the Orange Walk Carnival has grown tremendously, and we're seeing where even people from within the city are now going to Orange Walk and participate in the carnival in Orange Walk. So it has expanded tremendously, and so we have to, as a department, ensure that we put in place our plans to be able to effectively police these events. And I think that this year we did well, as we would normally do in the previous years.
I think that for this month of September, though, if you will, every municipality had some major event or the other. And so can you walk us through how you are able to ensure that there was enough security for all of these events? I know you were particularly talking about Belmopan and Belize City, but every municipality, including like Small Keycocker and San Pedro, had their events. So how were you able to strategically put officers in place that would be enough for security?
But what we normally do around this time of the year, we would have officers work what is referred to as extraneous duties. Extraneous is where officers have worked their complete tour of duty for the day, and they would normally come back to do extra, and they are compensated for it based on the police special duty rate. So, for example, a constable would get like $12.50 an hour for every extra hour that he or she would work during this time of the year. And in addition to that, what we did was to look at our countrywide focus of activities, and where we believe that a certain area of the country requires additional police presence, then we'll deploy from headquarters or from the specialized units to go to those areas and assist. So the finding, for example, San Ignacio is another hot area when it comes to celebrations, and so we had elements of SPU, we had persons from police headquarters who were sent to San Ignacio town to work. Likewise, in the south in Dangriga, we sent additional manpower there to complement the officers who are there. Again, added an effort to ensure that we were able to cover these events without any incidents. And again, I have to big up the commanders across the country, the regional and formation commanders, who ensured that whatever operational plan we had was properly executed. And I also would like to thank the foot soldiers, the constables and other officers within the respective formations who also did their part in ensuring that the operational plans were successful. You know, no matter how good our plans may be, if we don't have the correct people to execute it, then it is not going to work, the paper it is written on. And so the thanks need to be given to those persons who executed the plan the way how it went.
I know that I was out watching the Carnival Road March, and I saw a set of police officers manning the Carnival Road March. And when it was finished, when the Carnival Road March was finished, I saw them gathered together, and I think I overheard them preparing and planning for another event in the evening. And I said to myself, I said, man, I want to just work this entire carnival, and here you guys are gathering to go overtime on overdrive yet again for another event. And that really stood out to me and the person I was with, because the task was huge just for that day in particular.
And that's one of the things that Belizeans fail to appreciate at times, the amount of hours that police officers have to work daily, especially around September celebration time, are an effort to ensure that the citizens of this country are safe while they're celebrating. And so yes, there are occasions where officers have to work 3 events back to back to back. and that still does not include them working their ordinary tour of duty.
Yeah.
So it's a lot, but again, we were able to properly execute, and I can fairly say that the September celebrations went without any major incident.
Now, it didn't go without any major incidents. However, there were incidents. Fingers are being pointed at the police department for some of those incidents that occurred, particularly on Bayman Avenue, which is one of the hot spots for watching Carnival, but it's also one of the hot spots for unruly behavior. And this year, what we witnessed was a lot of unruly behavior in terms of revelers not given adequate space on the street to do their thing, as well as and then we saw some misbehavior from different viewers in terms of some fights taking place as well. Now, fingers are being pointed at the police officers, saying, where was the police to ensure that this crowd was controlled in the manner which it was supposed to be controlled? Now, I know when I saw police officers, they were, when the big trucks were coming through, they were there to make sure that the trucks don't cause any injury to anybody, so they cleared the way. But apart from that, I didn't see any police officers stopping people from impeding or blocking the pathway of revelers.
It is nothing new, Mr. Lopez. If you fight in your house with your wife, they'll blame the police. Everything the police get blamed for. Yes, when the Belize City Carnival took place, I was out of the country. I happened to have left the country the same day of the carnival. I went to Trinidad. And I did saw the incident on Bayman Avenue. And yes, to some extent, I would like to say that the police could have been more vigilant in terms of their presence on Bayman Avenue. If a matter of fact, we know historically Bayman Avenue has always been a problem to the police. And so the police could have been a little bit more assertive, I can say, but we have to understand likewise the length of the carnival parade to the amount of officers that we do have that has to work the parade. And so it is practically impossible to have police at every particular area. And so what we try to encourage officers to do is that whenever the carnival passes your area, you ensure that you clear the streets and then you move on. So once that is done, then those persons who would be lingering around, drinking or doing other activities would be moved out of the way. And secondly, I always ensure that whenever we have any major road march, either carnival or 10th or 21st parade, that we take away pint bottles from anybody who are seen drinking with pint bottles along the street corner. The law, the Intoxicating Liquor Licensing Act provides that while public drinking is an offense, it says that in time of celebration you can public drink. But it also states that when you do, it must be in either plastic or paper container or the cans, not bottles. So once you have bottles and you're in a public drinking, you're committing offense. So what we do, we would take that away. And you will see that in Orange Walk, we had a pickup bag full with pint bottles that we took away along the route of the carnival. So again, like I always said to officers, those same bottles that people are using to consume alcohol, when they're done, they throw it in a corner, and later on those bottles can be weaponized against the police and other civilian members. So that's one area where I think the police could have done better. But at the end of the day, I wouldn't want the police to take the blame for it. It has a lot to do with the attitude and behavior of people. You cannot have people behaving in such a way and committing themselves to the extent that they did what they did and the police get blamed for it. The police eventually stepped in and police did what needed to have been done and arrested the situation. I gave instructions that all those persons who were involved in that confrontation be brought in and they were arrested and charged. So we did what needed to have been done.
Comedically dubbed the Battle of St. George's Key there was definitely a lot of bottles there. So I take your point in that definitely is one course of action. How do you suggest, do you have any recommendations for addressing that cluster, that bottleneck on Bayman Avenue going forward for Carnival? Because it presents a headache for the police.
Well, perhaps I think that next year, I already said that we are going to recommend to the September Celebrations Committee to take the Carnival back to its usual route, which would be along Princess Margaret Drive into Marion Jones. Because indeed, Bayman Avenue is a bit too narrow. It creates a serious bottleneck, and it's very challenging to police. And so I think that we can go back to the usual route the Carnival used to go through.
I think the issue there was with the hospital. Yeah, and that being a concern. But that's a good recommendation. You spoke about the September 21st official event in Belmopan. You were there, and we saw that the leader of the opposition took shots at you per se. Nothing new. Perhaps you've built a bulletproof vest specifically for the leader of the opposition. It says Lou right there on the chest of the vest. And he spoke about the crime rate and the fact that crime is out of control in Belize. You took to social media a couple hours later, I think, or maybe right away, right after he said that, you went on social media to make some corrections. And one statement in one of the comments you made was that the crime rate is in fact the lowest it has been since 2012. How did you get to that number?
Let me say first and foremost that, you know, I think that the leader of the opposition wife left because he called my name more than he called hers. He seems to have an affinity for me. I don't know what it's about, but he needs to stop. When it comes to the issue of the crime rate, he always tries to paint a picture that crime is out of control, and he knows it is not true. But he only do it for political reasons, which is wrong. It is not the duty of a politician to politicize the issue of crime and try to gain points from the misfortune of others. We have our national statistics, and when it comes to the murder count, the stats don't lie. You all have it. And I don't need to be the one to tell you. You can go into your archives and you can see for yourselves that from 2012 to present, 12 years, the worst year in the history of this country when it comes to murders is 2012, when we had 147 or 48 murders. The second most deadliest year, I think, was 2018, when we had 145, and then 2017, 143. The best years we have had is 2013, when we had 99 murders. That's the only year the murder count had been under 100 since 2008. The second best year to that was 2020, when we had so much state of emergency under COVID. And as well as that year, we also had the gang state of emergencies. That year we had 104. The third best year was last year, 2022, when we had 113.
Yeah.
When we compared the first half of this year, 2023, to those 3 years, 2013, 2020, and 2022, we are down compared to those 3 years. So for the leader of the opposition to say that murders are occurring more frequent than before, he is lying. And you cannot use your freedom of speech or the pulpit as a political operative, and more so as a leader of the opposition. On Independence Day, feed the Belizean people with what you know is not true. How do you expect people to trust you when all you do is tell them lies? Even want to use the misfortune of the judge, where someone break into the home of a judge. When we check, Paul, that house had been broken into 4 previous times. So it's not like the persons who went there knew a judge lived there. It's a house that is frequently burglarized. And I'm happy that the judge moved out from there and is now relocating to somewhere else. But you don't try to use people's misfortune to gain political mileage. It's not right.
No, and I'm glad you brought up the point with the judge, because there is the argument that while you do have murders on a decline, that there is still a sense of a lack of safety among residents, among the public, within the public, that I don't feel as safe as I did before, or I don't feel as safe right now, not even comparing to before. I don't feel safe right now. Why do you think people feel that way?
You could answer that question, Paul. Of course. When we go back, perhaps even up to 2018, 2017, 2016, many people didn't have access to this. Things are shared more rapidly now than before. When a murder would occur in PG or Stan Creek or Corozal or Orange Walk, it was never known until you hear it on the radio. Now, when murder happened, sometimes I get briefed on social media. Before the police even tell me, I see it on social media. Things are shared more, and because people are seeing these things more than before, they feel that way. In the past, it was not being shared the way it is being shared now. So that is the reason. The information about crime is is placed out there more rapidly and more prevalent than before.
How are Belizeans to access these statistics? And I ask this because I see your posts and so forth, but when I try to find for myself, if I Google murder rate in Belize from 2012 to, I will get perhaps an international website or something or the matter. I don't see Statistics Institute of Belize that has something for us, or I don't see, please correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't see these statistics coming up where I can say for certain that this is a credible source of information where I can get this kind of statistics from.
Paul, where you used to get it before?
Where I used to get the information?
Yes.
The news.
The Belize Observatory.
Right, there, and then there's the Belize Observatory website. Right.
Okay.
Right. I want to go back, Compol, to the thought that you mentioned about social media and your phones. You're saying that this is one of the reasons why people don't feel as safe as they did before. You're speaking about a psychological effect. The fact remains, however, that these crimes are happening. That real people, yes, at a decreased rate, but real people are dying. And whether you have the social media showing it or you don't have the social media, it's happening. And not only murders, but you have incidents of burglary, people being robbed on the streets. These things are happening, and I don't know that. I'd like to challenge that argument, because I don't know that it's solely because it's shown on social media. Even if you hide it, then what? It's still happening. And that's the truth of the matter. It's happening.
I have to stop you there, because we have to be real, right? And is there any way in the world where crime is not happening?
Yeah, I mean, no.
Crime is a worldwide phenomenon. And while we can look around us in the Caribbean and Central America, where we're seeing that crime is going up, particularly murders, except for Salvador, and we know why Salvador is going down. We can appreciate the fact in Belize that the murders are going down. And as much as it might not be a sexy conversation to you in the media, it is the reality. And we cannot hide the reality. Even if I were to say, I will hide the murder stats. Every murder that took place, you all keep records of it. So at one point in time, we had our murder stats off by 1. And Jules Vasquez corrected us because he had the record. And you all have the record too. So you should be one of the defenders of the police to say that murders are on a decline. No, certainly the media would not want to do nothing that makes the police look good. That's the tendency of the media. If it is not sensational to you, you don't like it. But sometimes good news is what people want to hear. And when the media paint a story out to the public, that too creates a psychological effect on the public. And that may also make the public feel more insecure. When we look at the month of August, we had 11 murders in the month of August. One of the highest months for this year. Of those 11 murders, 8 of them had to do with domestic issue. Now, how do you expect the police to stop a domestic issue or a situation where you and another person got into an argument, it quickly escalated and one killed the next one? How do you expect the police to deal with that? When it comes to the gang-related murders, they're extremely down. But again, as I said before on other interviews, I see it as an insult to the hardworking men and women of the police department and our social partners who work tirelessly every day to try and save our young people. And to see that we're making great strides and there are still some who continue to downplay the strides that we're making, it's an insult.
So you're saying it's a culture that our population is quick to blame the police for any incident that happens?
Not everybody, some. A small fraction of our population. Because the truth of the matter is, majority of Belizeans see and appreciate the good work the police is doing. I walk around the city, I move around this country, and the amount of good comments I get from the citizens of this country when I move around, it's no joke.
I think what Paul was trying to say, correct me if I'm wrong, Paul, is
Don't
that
try to be his attorney.
is that if you are around it so much, right, you begin to feel that it happens a lot. And I mean, in Belmopan, where we live, when something of a murder happens, everybody is at arms and alarms because this not happen, yeah, or this not, you know. That is where I feel, or I believe that is when people start to get riled up if you're not seeing it happening a lot. And I think that's what happened in the case of PG. That's what happened in these areas where it's not reported as much, where these things or these incidents happen. But like you said, crime is everywhere.
You know, at one point, I think it was in 2018, 19, 20, Punta Gorda town or Toledo district recorded over 10 murders for the year.
Wow.
I think this year, Toledo district has, I think, 4 murders.
Wow.
The murder the other day was one in the last perhaps 6 months. How could you say the police is not working?
Yeah.
And this is where we need to be fair. We have a commander in Punta Gorda town, Mr. Hamilton. He's very much community policing oriented. He is well in touch with the people. He's on the grounds. He's doing what needs to be done to mitigate crime. We can't tell him and stop crime, but he's doing his utmost best. And we're seeing the results of that. We can't kill the man because one murder happened where he could not have prepared.
So we hear, at least for me, I'm not arguing that crime don't happen. And I'm not arguing either that the police isn't doing a stellar job. So you can't label me as one of those who say, oh, police are doing a bad job.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that you, as a member of the media, a responsible member of the media, must try to be more balanced in how you say things, because you people are role model to some extent. You know, people take what the media says as gospel at times. And so striking a balance, I'm not saying for you to take the side of the police, but strike a balance. I would like to ask you a question. You've been in the media. Are you seeing murder reports in the news as frequent as before?
I am not.
Be honest.
No, I am not, and that's a good thing. So the notion that there isn't celebration within the newsroom when we don't have murders to report on is false. And just remember, your beef here is with the leader of the opposition and not the media, sir. No,
I don't have no beef with the leader of the opposition. Well, I have an issue with some of the things that he has to say.
The truth of the matter is, though, that while it happens everywhere, crime is still taking place. Murders are still happening. And I'm certain that even with the stellar work that the officers are doing, none of them are happy or it's settled when a murder takes place. If to say, oh, that's just one added this month. It's not 10 or 15 like in the previous month. Nobody's happy. Police officers aren't pleased, and the public isn't pleased when a single murder takes place, because one too much.
I fully agree with you.
I want to switch gears, though, because as we listen, at the end of the day, crime happens, and that is no one's fault except the person that pulls the trigger, right? I want to go into the making of a murder aspect and what the police are doing in strides when it comes to the LIU and the plans moving forward now that we have Ms. Dominique Norales in place. Can we speak more on that, please?
Yes, the LIU is a critical component of our plans to address the crime issue. There are several components of LIU, and one component is the mitigation or the mediation and intervention section. That is done primarily by myself, Brother Nuri, Fote Gongara, and Sticks. There are occasions where Giovanni Brackett will join us. Then we have the component that deals with training of young people, teaching them life skills, teaching them financial literacy, and that is spearheaded by Dr. McKay. And then we have the whole organizational structure, which is to get the other agencies on board. That is done by Ms. Dominique Norales. We also have an agricultural section where they're looking at getting these young men land in different areas and teach them to plant and these sort of things. The Ministry of Agriculture is well on board with that. And then what we want to do now is to create another tier within the LIU, which is going to be the ministerial appointees, where each ministry with responsibility is going to appoint a person as their point of contact. And occasionally they are going to meet to look at what are the needs of the lower tiers, and then they're going to take that to their respective ministers, and then they get the support from their ministers, and then things begin to happen. They also have the DYS issue, where DYS is also engaged in different activities with the young people, sports and these sort of things, in collaboration with the police department. We have the William Dawson tournament, for example, and different things. So there's a lot that we're trying to do to try and keep the minds of these young people distracted in a positive way. Yes, we have not reached where we want to be with LIU, but we're already seeing the results of the good work being done with LIU and the police. Again, the whole issue of fighting crime, it must be done from a dual standpoint, where we have the hardcore policing and we have the soft style policing. So you would see, whenever the gang members behave in a certain way and we see that they're not letting in, we pull the plug, SOE. Because we have to make them understand that the program will work for you if you're behaving yourself. If it is that you're not behaving yourself and you want to be out there committing crime and be a menace to society, then we are going to do something about you. So I think that it is working. Dominique is on the grounds. Almost every day she moves around as well, talk to young people, get their feedback, because as she said, she wants that whatever plan is done, she wanted to be from the young people, what they believe they want, and not us creating something and shove it down their throat. So she's getting their views, and then based on that, they will put together a more comprehensive.
Is this a plan that you hope to execute countrywide, or is it just supposed to be in Belize City?
Yes, we're hoping that eventually we can go countrywide.
How do you respond to the public criticism that a large part of this is negotiating with or negotiations with criminals, alleged criminals, or known gang members? There's always this this criticism that if you know who the gang members are,
just lock them up.
If you know who's then why don't you do something about it versus taking this approach? One, and how does this approach help to address the issue of illegal firearms on the streets? At the end of the day, this is the use of these illegal firearms that are, and I'd venture to say perhaps on the increase within the streets, that are causing or are leading to these murders or leading to these robberies, because a criminal may just carry a firearm into a robbery or into a burglary, etc. Does it really do justice to address those types of issues?
How many gang members have we not charged for being a member of a gang and convicted? Several of them.
Are the penalties stiff enough?
Well, that's another issue. I'm not going to discuss the issue of the judiciary. I personally am not happy with the penalty, but it's a matter for the judiciary. But we have been trying different mechanisms before. And while it did work short term, when it comes to long term, it is absent. LIU for us is a long-term plan. Now, there is nothing wrong to negotiate or to try and resolve conflict. The job of a police officer is, one, to preserve life and property. So if I know that a gang member have a conflict with another gang member, and I believe that that conflict is going to reach a point where it becomes violent and maybe even lead to death, I have an obligation under the law to prevent that from happening. How do I prevent it from happening? If I just take them and lock them down without no kind of intervention or mediation between them to see what the issues are, they'll come out and they will still do what they need to do. Because I can only keep them locked down for so long. So when we bring them in to find out what the issues are and quell the issues, it's a part of police work. Even in your own home, if you have two children who are at odds with each other, what do? You sit them down together, and you talk to them and try to find out what the issues are and resolve it. Even when you go to the courts now, in civil cases, the court have now what is called a mediation session, where the court asks you to try and mediate the matter. and resolve before it goes to a full trial. If mediation fails, then it goes to full trial. So mediation has become a very important component of law enforcement and the judiciary. So one cannot condemn the police for intervening between young people who have conflict with each other. We just cannot sit on the fence and see them escalating the conflict to the point where they kill each other. Then we say, you know what, we could have prevented it had we done X, Y, Z.
Can you explain the purpose of police officers stationed within known gang areas? Only because there's this notion or this idea out there in the public that police officers are stationed within areas to kind of safeguard or protect gangs from other gangs. I'm sure you've heard that criticism. What's the purpose of those officers being there?
In policing, again, it happens all over the world. They have what is called hotspots. Hotspots are areas that are deemed by the police to be problematic or has a potential of becoming problematic. What policing across the world does is that they create precincts within those areas. We don't have the luxury of creating a precinct in the area. So what we do is that we put a police patrol in the area, or a police booth.
Or a tent.
Or a tent. That again is done with the view or with the intent to mitigate the occurrence of crime within the particular area. Because at the end of the day, Mr. Lopez, it doesn't matter how bad we paint people to be, we still have a responsibility under the law to protect them. And it is not just protecting them, it is also protecting the entire community, because not everyone who lives in those communities are bad people. There are good law-abiding people who live there. And if you have a showdown between gang members in a particular area, do you believe that only gang members will be killed? No. Innocent children, innocent women, innocent bystanders, innocent passers-by may also become collateral damages to those gang wars. So we must do what needs to be done to prevent those things from occurring.
Can we talk about the progress of these negotiations, though? Because I remember the late Mr. Dawson sat right across from us, and I asked, what's the purpose of the beef? What's the purpose of the gang members? What's the purpose of this? And you know, it was not a question that anybody could really answer to me. And so when you say you sit and you're like asking them, what are the issues? What are the issues? What are the problem? If you could please explain that to me, a very, very ignorant person that does not understand gang warfare.
The truth is, April, many of the young people now who are involved in these gang issues don't even know what they're fighting over. It's a cycle. They are, for example, they are from Majestic Alley, you are from George Street. Growing up, they know Majestic Alley and George Street have beef, and they grow up with that mindset. And many a times when there are escalations, it's because of say. Because there are those who try to instigate violence. They'll go and tell Majestic Alley, boy, you know, George, the plan for the this later on, then they want to tell George the same thing. So they try to create that rift. And that's the reason why having people that they can communicate with and share information helps. Because now, instead of when Majestic Alley hear George Street want to come out of them, Majestic Alley get ready and go. Majestic Alley will tell we hear George Street want to come, and we are bringing both parties. And then right there I find out that the story that Majestic Alley got was not true. But let's say, for example, now, we didn't have that mechanism. You know what it could create? Exactly.
Yeah.
And these crimes are carried out by, as I go back again, by individuals in possession of illegal firearms. How many illegal firearms have we been able to take off the streets of Belize City this year?
I don't have the figure, but it's a lot. and I know that you all, again in the media, would see that every so often, almost every day, you're reporting about a firearm or two being removed off the streets. I think in the month of August, we removed over 10 firearms off the streets. Likewise, in the month of September, we had a good amount removed. So again, some of these weapons are removed as a part of our discussion with these gang members.
Now, from illegal firearms to the issuance of gun license for legal, the holding of legal firearms. Sir, we've been trying to get you for some time on the most controversial topic concerning the late Ricardo Borja and the fact that he was in possession of close to 10, if I'm not mistaken, and you'll correct me, I'm certain of it, 10 firearm license, and this included some very high-powered rifles. Initially, and I'm not sure if it had escaped you, you indicated that he had somewhere close to 2 license, and it came to light that it was approximately 8. How is it that one individual was able to come in possession of so many gun license for these high-powered rifles, and do you recommend going forward, and I know there's a change in the structure, a moratorium on the amount of gun license one receives?
I see, Mr. Lopez, that you had drunk the poison pill that was issued. Again, people do things to create mischief. I certainly would not want to discuss Mr. Borjas. One, the man is dead. And even at death, there are some who are trying to make it seem as if the man had done something wrong. There had been people in this country who have been accused of committing things amounting to a crime. But upon their death, it was left alone. Mr. Borjas did not commit any crime. He was a victim of gun violence where he was killed with a gun. It's not like he used his firearm and had gone to commit a crime. He did not. So why should he be the topic of a discussion? Leave the man to rest in death. But to answer your question, because the nonsense, and I need to give you the cure for the poison pill. Mr. Borjas had 2 gun licenses. 2. A rifle and a 9mm pistol. 2. Certainly, over a period of time, he was approved 9 gun licenses, not 10. But when he was a gun enthusiast, if a matter of fact, he even formed the Rifles Club. Whenever he sees a type of gun that he wants to buy that gun. So when he applied, I would say, if you get that, what you have, you must sell. So as he sold what he had. So at any point in time, he only had 2 guns. Now, even if it were to say that he had 9 guns, it would not be illegal.
Interesting.
The law does not place a limit on the amount of guns a person can have. We have people in this country who have up to 20 guns licensed. 20. Not issued by me. We have people who have 19, 18, 17, 16, 15, right down. Many, many people have more than 10 gun licenses in this country. An issue was not made when they got those gun licenses. And again, these are outstanding people. Most of them are gun enthusiasts. I listened to the Channel 7 report when a man said that in one instant, 3 were approved on a day. There are times I approve 5 gun licenses in one day for one person. Let's say, for example, you have a family member, maybe your father. Your father had maybe 8 guns and he died. You wish to keep those guns in the family. So you apply to the commissioner of police for them. I would approve 8 of them to you. But there's nothing wrong with that.
So is there, moving forward then, as to what Paul had asked, will there be, now that there is a reconstruction in how we're issuing these licenses, will there be a limit? Is that something
that is not for me to say. It's a matter for Parliament to decide.
Okay.
But again, there are people out there who are gun enthusiasts. There are people out there who are part of rifle clubs.
But then does that not mean that we should see how we perhaps secure the way these persons apply for these guns? And I'm asking this in the sense of psych evaluations and all of these things.
I don't think the issue is been specifically how many gun license you get or how many firearms you hold, because if you are an upstanding citizen whose record is clean and you won't use these guns for illegal activities, then by all means.
Have we heard of these people using the guns?
The challenge comes when criminals target these individuals.
You know, Mr. Lopez, I listened the last time today, the Minister of Public Service, and I also listened to many Belizeans.
Your Prime Minister took a strong
complaining bitterly about the process within the public service. What some of us public servants fail to understand is that we provide a service to the people. And that service that we provide, we must do so in the most efficient and effective manner. I've heard people complain that they apply for a gun license 3-6 months and they got no reply. I say to people, if you apply for a gun license, come to my office at Belmopan. I will take your application form, send it for vetting, get the vetting, and perhaps in a week you get your gun license. That is making things more efficient for people. Then people pay. They pay an application fee, and they have to pay a license fee. If they pay for a service, you expect the service you pay for must be efficient. So why am I being vilified for trying to provide a service to people that they need, and in the most efficient and effective way I know how? I offer no apology when I do something for somebody and they walk away happy. Many people come to me every day about issues with gun license, and I make sure I address the issue. Once they meet the criteria to be issued the gun license, I issue it to them, and I offer no apology for that.
Kampal, we have so many more questions, but we do have to wrap up this segment. Thank you so much for coming by. We hope that we could get you back again soon for answer some of our other questions, because I know Paul has many.
And I will share with you, Mr. Borja gun license, so you can see that you only have 2.
All right. Well, if Paul take a picture of that, I'm not. But thank you so much for coming in this morning, Kampal, and keep us updated as we move on with our show for this morning. Thank you so much. We have to take a break.
Thank you very much as well for the invitation, and again I want to big up all my police officers countrywide for the job well done during the September celebrations. And as I've said to them, we still have 3 months ahead of us. We're going to continue to push on and try to end the year the best way we can.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Kampal.
Thanks too.
We got to take the break, and when we come back, it's all about Beltrade and how you can finance and budget your small business properly. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Caribbean Sprinter is proud to offer our best available rates to Belize residents online at sprinter.bz. Register today for our Sprinter Rewards program located on the resident section of our website. Skip the line when you book online with online check-in.
Yo, what's up? This is your boy Major, aka the King of Caribbean Comedy, and for the first time ever, I'm gonna be in Belize. That's right, it's all about Belize Comedy Entertainment Presents.
No, September the 30th, you're gonna make sure they're live and direct, you understand? They're trying to get on the money and don't second, you know, check. Cause the rest of them, I don't know, it's like a man.
That's right, featuring Major Hype, Wipe Yardy, and much more. It's gonna be crazy. Make sure y'all there. You know that it's already. Get your tickets right now.
In the fire for that comedy show, I want you.
Smart introduces Real Unlimited Postpaid Plans, providing customers with unlimited talk, unlimited text, and unlimited data. Now that's a real great deal. With Smart Plus, Share 1 and 2, and Enterprise 1 and 2 plans, you can talk as much as you want, text as much as you want, and for the first time ever in Belize, you can enjoy unlimited data with your postpaid plan. So come in and sign up for an unlimited postpaid plan and enjoy limitless possibilities. In addition, other plans such as the Flex Junior, Choice, and Select have been boosted with a lot more talk, text, and data, providing you with the best value for your budget. Be unlimited with Smart. It's time to power your dollar with Smart.
Welcome back. If you are joining us right now, we are entering our second conversation, and it's all about how to save, saving tips for small businesses and costing and pricing. And of course, we have the folks in from Beltrade to talk to us all about how you can reduce your budget. And you also can learn about costing and pricing with your small business. Joining us in studio, we have manager at CBDC at Beltrade, Ms. Monique Usher, and the senior business advisor, Mr. Jorge Gentle. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. So, in terms of what the CBDC believes stands for and what we're doing to assist small businesses, let's talk about that first.
Sure. Good morning. My name is Monique Usher. I'm the manager of SBDC Belize. It's the Small Business Development Center, and it's a unit of Beltrade, and our focus is on providing business advisory services and training capacity building. So today we're invited on set to talk about a very painstaking topic. We're looking at budgeting, we're looking at costing and pricing, we're looking at savings. We know a lot of small businesses are in a crunch with inflation, and you have to be creative in how you can streamline some of your expenses. Also looking at ways how you can curtail but not cut back on that quality product or service that you're offering to consumers. So it's basically around that line. We have our senior business advisor, Mr. Jorge Gentle, and he leads our accounting series. So he'll be able to share a bit more about financial management and the importance of it for small businesses.
Jorge, if I could ask a starting question.
Yes.
When you look at a small business and you look at their expense sheet, I guess that's what you call it. What's the largest expense for any small business?
Okay, so first of all, thank you for having us here. And very important, as you're saying, to answer that question, we first usually would look at the financials of micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises which we serve. And we see that one of the largest expenses would be what we refer to in accounting cost of goods sold, which is the cost of you being able to provide that good or service.
Like inventory?
Yes, which includes your raw material, which includes also sometimes labor for production, their packaging and labeling material. And you'd see that sometimes that even ranges almost to 80% of the sales item. So if something is costing you $10 or you're selling it for $10, it's costing you about at times $8.
Wow.
Yes, and you'd see that you'd really have to sell in large volumes in order to be able to be profitable and to also be sustainable as well, because the cost of goods sold is just one aspect of your expenditure. You also look at your indirect expenses, which include your utilities and so on.
So if a business, using your example, is spending 80% of what they're making, let's say your expenses is their input is $8 and you are selling your product for $10. Wouldn't it be wise to encourage that business to increase their margins or up their costs to $15 or so? And how does that affect business? Or have you seen that affect business or even interest in products?
Yeah, most definitely. And that, I believe, one of the fundamental challenges for that would be costing and pricing, which April mentioned earlier. And the costing and pricing aspect looks at you being able to identify all your direct costs, which are the needed materials, packaging and labeling for you to be able to produce that product, and also be able to set a price that is based on, again, looking at research, how do you want to price that product? If you want to, there are about 14 different pricing strategies that we would usually share on our costing and pricing trainings, but there are different pricing strategies that you can implement. Not just one, which primarily is what the general public would use, which you would have a product, it costs you this amount and times it by a specific percentage. Yeah, but there are about 14 different strategies, and you can use a combination of them through the year. And again, you can, using budgeting, the tool of budgeting, you can also identify which ones you want to use within the year.
Well, we know that small business cover about 70% of our Belizean economy, but is that still a competing number when it comes to large industrial commercial businesses, and how do they make their profit when they have to compete with these larger businesses? And I'm talking about things like importation of goods and how much taxes they have to pay for these goods if they have to import these raw materials and so forth. And how does that assist them to make a profit when they're competing with these other larger commercial vendors?
Yeah, it's a challenge, but I think something that's at the hallmark of it is being able to position yourself in the market. And, you know, with these small enterprises, one of the unique things that they have is that it's a niche product. It's something that's unique in the market. It's not something that's imported and you don't know what the ingredients are. A lot of our local small businesses, their raw material is sourced locally here, and that makes it a quality product, right? So I think something that Jorge mentioned that is very important, and Paul kind of hallmarked on it, was budgeting. And for us, budgeting is something that, you know, it's a challenge. You know, a lot of small businesses that go to us in that initial session that we have with them, one of the first things we ask them is to share with us their budget, you know, on a monthly basis. How much income is your business generating? What is your expense? And that is something that oftentimes they're not able to provide to us. So that is one of the first steps we have them look at, a budget, you know, to be able to understand what on a monthly basis you earn in comparison to what you spend.
So Monique, not to cut you short, but let's talk then about some of the key components of a budget. If I'm creating my budget as a small business, what are the things that I must consider?
Sure, that's a valid question that you asked. Things to take into consideration would be your fixed and variable expenses, and I think Jorge hinted at that earlier. So your fixed expenses would be, let's say you rent. You know, what is that monthly rent that you need to pay? And that's an overhead expense. Whether you make money or you don't make money, if you have an agreement with a landlord to lease a property to operate your business, you have to pay that expense, right? So you have the rent. You also have your raw materials, which was mentioned earlier. You have, you know, your advertising. If you're doing any advertising, that's an expense that you need to take into consideration. And, you know, the budget allows you to see clearly what your income is. So if you have 5 different products, you're able to say, well, you know, product 1 generates this amount on a monthly basis on average. And something important to note is that a budget is a starting point. You have to prepare the budget, and at the end of the month, you go back and then you do your calculations to see what was incurred for that month. Maybe there were some cost savings, maybe there were some unforeseen expenses, and so you want to be able to highlight, you know, what those unforeseen expenses are to mitigate them the next month. So it's a continuous process.
When we think about small businesses and in Belize and here on Open Your Eyes, we try our best to highlight as many of them as possible. We saw a huge increase of these small businesses pop up during COVID. I often ask my guests, why did they go into this, or how did they think about this? But I never really understood if anybody says, okay, I have to sit and think about how much I'm going to invest in my small business moving forward. So when your clients come in, what is the advice that you all give them when it comes to investing in a small business?
Yeah, very important question. And I have a bias as my background is in accounting, and I like the numbers, so I usually would ask and pose some of these questions. And for an existing business, and again, this is a touchy one, which for most of my trainings, I would usually ask this question. Again, just for food for thought, and for the viewers looking as well. Do you have anywhere that you can rely on to know your sales for last month? And most of, again, about 75% of the room would kind of have that figure. Then I go on further and ask, do you have anywhere to rely to find out what were your total sales for last year? And that's where the challenge that starts to arise, because it starts becoming a bit of a challenge if you don't know your numbers. And it's very important. How can you set a goal for this year if you don't know how much you sold last year?
Yeah, but I'm amazed that that's a challenge.
Yeah.
Because
you would think,
one would
right?
think that this is where you want to be. This is what you want to have. I need to know. I need to have a track record, right?
So
because, for example,
how do I know?
if I want to approach an investor, for example, my investor would want to know, all right, what are your sales? How much did you make last year? How much do you think you'll make this year based on how much you made last year? And you would think that that's something that businesses have. But I guess it's just the fact that as a society, we often get into business because of out of necessity.
We want to make money,
So we're here, we need to do something, so we get into the business and we don't think about the books. But you guys are here. How do you reach out to small businesses? Do you have like a registry or something like that where you get to them?
We have a client management system, and so what we do at SBDC Beltrade is we look at recruiting clients. We also have clients that come to the center to access the business advisor services, maybe a referral. We also work with financial institutions, so sometimes a small business might be looking at accessing finance, and they go to that lending institution, and the lending institution wants to provide that assistance, but they realize that their books are not in order. So they would refer them to come to us to have us assist them with streamlining their financial management practices, to have them see, in terms of access to finance, if it's something that they have the capacity to repay. Also looking at, what their future plans are, because finance, as Jorge mentioned, is looking at the numbers, but it's also looking at the trends. It's also looking at, your consumer behavior. It's taking into account all of that. And also, ensuring that you're constantly on the ball when it comes to the finance. With costing and pricing, something that's very important. Something that costs maybe $3 last year might cost $3.50 this year, and you might be selling that product at $4, and you might not realize that you're not making much in terms of profit.
I'm glad that you talked about knowing your consumer and the trends and so forth. We went to the expo that was just a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't help but notice that a lot of the same products, a lot of the same things. And after like making my one round, I think I saw it all, and I said, okay, time to pack up and leave, because I was trying to figure out what else was there. And you know what, I can't make a small business, and no shaming of people that can. But how do you then advise your clients? There are 50 jewelry makers. Why are you going to be 51? There are so many, so how do you advise your clients on these trends, on these the market and the consumers that are buying these products?
That's true, definitely true. And there has to also be some differentiation strategy by each individual, and it's situational, because everybody is facing a different situation based on resources that are available. But one key point that you need to also look at is value. What value are you giving? What makes you different? What competitive advantage do you have over the next similar item? And it might be several factors. It might be the quality, it might be our accessibility. Sometimes we take for granted things like delivery. And that is what makes loyal customers and can have you differentiate yourself. Again, all of those are aspects that we consider as value. And you can look at any product that you yourselves would buy and compare it to another brand. Why do you buy that specific one? Because it brings some additional value.
But then how do you sell that to the general public who basically go through a recession, right? And they're not really looking at all of that. They're like, oh, that is $40. No, we're not going to look at the rest. So then how do you advise your clients to, all right, your price might be kind of high, make sure that you still sell the product anyway?
And it comes to the aspect, as we had mentioned earlier, the costing and pricing aspect. So you also, similar to what Monique said, you have to know your market. Who are you serving? How can I look for those individuals who are able to pay that $40? Because at times we market to the wrong individuals or in the wrong areas, and we need to find who are those customers. And again, it might not, you also might want to consider as well having products that are accessible for the general public, those who cannot buy a $40 product might be able to buy a $30 product, and that's where you try to establish or create a product line that could serve your general public.
How does a budget assist a small business that may be operating at a loss? Let's say you're in the business and you seem to be doing everything correct, but I don't know, because maybe of how much you've invested, you're still not seeing profitable returns. Does a budget assist with that?
I'll tell you something that I usually hear at most of my trainings, and I sell, but not the city money.
Yeah, right.
We hear that vented out a lot. And one of the main things, again, there are many factors that contribute to this. But as we mentioned, it's very difficult for you to be able to sustain yourselves if your cost of just making that product is about 80% of it. So you had mentioned earlier, you need to know your expenditures, your variable and fixed costs. But at times we have fixed costs and they say, well, that's how much I pay for it on a monthly, but you can shop around as well. So you have to also look at trying to reduce your costs, which at times we take for granted. Okay, this is how much I'm paying for it, and I continuously pay that, but at times you might need to shop around, buy in bundle, partner with other entrepreneurs. I've seen at the center where entrepreneurs are partnering with each other to buy or to import needed material for their products as well.
You wanted to chime in, Monique?
Just something that crossed my mind with having that conversation and going back to what Paul mentioned. One of the things that we notice quite often is that a lot of small business don't have something that's personal and business. Everything is jumbled, rice and beans, right? So that is one of the areas that we try to strive to have clients look at. Okay, let's set aside finance that is strictly for the business and finance that's for personal. Right. Because we do have instances where you might hear, well, it's an owner's withdrawal, I'm the owner of the business, I'm taking out $100, I feel like
it's not illegal.
It's not illegal.
But if you do it
too often, it becomes an issue for the business, and you don't realize, you know, the amount that you're withdrawing from the business.
There has to be a discipline on how much you are, and what we would usually recommend is pay yourself a salary. Okay. Right? So you have a set salary, and again, it could be based on the current situation that are faced by the business. You can afford to pay yourself this on a weekly basis, and you as the business owner would then be able to isolate what is your personal funds as to the business. And we see that's a methodology used by a lot of small businesses when starting up in order for them to have more funds to grow that business. So
does it require you having 2 bank accounts maybe, or 2 accounts somewhere maybe, separate accounts?
Yeah, and at times depending on the business, sometimes you're working to getting a business bank account, which would be the ideal situation, but at times they would use probably a specific bank account just for their personal and one for the business as well.
So how is CBDC Belize assisting these small businesses? Do you have regular workshops? How are you assisting small businesses with costing and pricing and budgeting?
At SBDC, we have our annual training calendar, which does have some of the financial management training. We have costing and pricing, budgeting, basic bookkeeping, the accounting series, financial statement analysis. We have QuickBooks series, which is a very popular one for us at the center. And as Jorge mentioned earlier, we also have our business advisory services, because again, your finances is something that's private, it's confidential, it's personal, and so you might not want to disclose that in an audience, but you can come and receive the business advisory service that's tailored to your specific business. We listen to your specific challenges that you have at that point in time. We look at identifying, you know, ways that we can assist you with improving your financial position.
And this is free of cost?
Yes.
Yes,
the services are free of cost.
Wow.
There's no hidden fees there. Wow. And again, this is
what's the catch?
What's the
commitment of the entrepreneur. That's what we ask for. Commitment. Yeah. So we are here to serve the general public, and our services, we consider them mobile. As yes, our office is here in Belize City, but we have advisors that are assigned to the north, here in Belize City and the Keys in the west, and also I'm actually the advisor assigned to the southern part of the country, so I would usually be in Stan Creek and Toledo, and again, we would usually go on visit these entrepreneurs to their establishment and sit down with them formally and go over some of these things.
I'm a strong believer that the numbers always tell a story. That the solutions for businesses are always in the numbers, right? If you're having a bad time with your business, just look at the books and find a way to bring a solution. If you're having a good time, it will reflect in the books as well, and you could use it as an example for individuals who may be overwhelmed by the numbers and not sure how to read it, and even with the courses it's still overwhelming. Do you recommend the hiring of an accountant or is this accounting services as a small business?
Can you afford it?
Yeah, and what we would try to primarily do, again, we work with micro entrepreneurs who are very small, ranging from different industries, and what we would do, some of them start off with manual bookkeeping. Our aim is to move them upwards in starting to use technology, things like Excel, and at some point in time using applications or software, and we would handhold them through this process. So again, moving forward from having something formal on a manual bookkeeping system and then being able to, again, financial literacy, capacity building in order to move them to Excel, using formulas and all these things, and then transitioning to using an application. Or an
so
app
it might start as simple as having a sheet of paper,
exactly.
saying this is what I'm spending,
so if you have that,
this is what I'm
we invite you to come.
Yes, final question for me. How do you advise small businesses to save, especially when they are, as you mentioned, you know, trying to compete and figuring out their finances and costing and pricing? How do you save as a small business?
There are several tips on savings, and again, you can breeze through the internet and you'll find a lot. One of the main ones is a budget forces you to identify both your income and your expenditures. It looks also at being able to mitigate different risks. And it allows you to take the consideration of savings. So if you are budgeting, you include savings as part of your budget, and you would aim to have excess of income in order to be able to afford savings. So you want to do a budget in order to incorporate things like labor, as we've mentioned earlier, pay yourself a salary, also savings, the aspects of being formal and paying business tax. So those are some of the considerations that we would want to have incorporated into the budget. And from the budget, you'll be able to see if you can afford these things and set goals in order to be able to afford.
Wow. You know, I always think about that as just a regular person and how I can save and budget on my own. I can't even imagine the amount of time and effort and money it takes to invest in a business of some sort. But you guys have to come back and give us a crash course. Because I still feel like I have a lot of...
We need a blackboard and chalk.
How to not be broke 101. That would be mine.
And Paul and April, the next time we come back, we'll definitely invite one of our clients, you know, somebody who was maybe a bit hesitant about financial management at first, and, you know, have been taking the tips into consideration.
And give us some examples.
Bring a chalkboard. That would be nice. A whiteboard. But thank you, Monique Jorge, so much for coming in as we wrap up our morning show this morning. We got to take the break. We'll be right back to wrap things up.
Homeowners, immerse yourselves in elegance. Surround yourself with the beauty of one-of-a-kind, quality wood furniture. This is what America's elegant furniture and appliances has to offer. Trendy, affordable, and exceptional centerpieces, large mirrors, vanities, plush sofa sets, coffee tables, office furniture, exquisite mahogany bedroom sets, home decor, mattresses, and so much more. Shop our new reduced prices store-wide and get huge discounts daily. Our layaway and payment plans offer the lowest interest rates guaranteed. Our extensive catalog meets everyone's furniture needs, and if you can't find what you're looking for, then we'll custom make it for you. Shop at America's and save. America's, making your household dreams affordable.
It's good to keep the environment clean. BSWAMA, step up the pace. They're going places to manage your waste. So make we stand and make well sure. No garbage left on the seashore. The whole of Belize we stay clean, cause we know say worth much more. We have pretty environment. So when you see the garbage on the ground, go after me and just bag it on.
Cleanliness has always been second nature to us. So let's work together to keep our surroundings beautiful and healthy.
No garbage in it.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
Do you know how to choose the best engine oil for your car? We believe the best engine oil should provide optimal performance and ultimate protection for longer. For Quartz engine oil, our engineers have formulated age resistance technology, also known as ART. It's a breakthrough innovation. The interaction between oil molecules is increased, creating a super resistant molecular structure. So whatever the conditions, it helps to prevent the lubricant protective film from breaking. Any engine is exposed to harsh conditions. Extreme temperature and pressure, friction, sludge accumulation. The molecular structure of quartz with ART stays strong to perfectly lubricate and protect engine parts in all conditions. And the results are outstanding. Protection against sludge buildup improved by 18%. Protection against mechanical wear improved by 74%. Thanks to Quartz with ART, save on maintenance and preserve your engine's power. So next time you wonder which engine oil to use, choose performance and protection that last longer. Quartz with age resistance technology. Keep your engine younger for longer.
My Social Security. Your direct online access to all your Social Security information. 360 view of all your Social Security information. Registration services, benefits, contributions, and employer services at your fingertips. Enjoy all the new features with your My Social Security account. Register with SSB. Submission of benefit claims. Submission of contribution statements. View contribution record. Enjoy all your My Social Security feature at ssbportal.org.bz. Social Security at your fingertips.
Number one caller. Number one caller. Hey, number one caller. You know why? Listen, hey, for the best post and prepaid. You know that smart got you back. For the best service coverage. All we know that smart got you back. Travel and connect everywhere. You know that smart got you back. Smart record that'll go a long, long way. All we know that smart got you back. Yeah, babe. Let's go. Yeah, babe. This is our smart offer. The prepaid, the bundle, the postpaid, roaming, business forget the broadband, and the prepaid. Best deals the bundles. No care what they say. Broadband for the family. You dollar when I long, long way. The roaming connect everywhere. The promos cause we are family. Stand up easy as 1, 2, 3, let's go. Boom. Every caller is the number one caller with smart, bringing people together.
right, and that does it for this morning's show, September the 25th. It was a very insightful show.
It was.
Both conversations, of course, we started with the Commissioner of Police, Chester Clyde Williams, who gave us an updates, in fact, on several issues, including September security, crime rate and murder rate, gun license, illegal license, illegal firearms, activities with the LIU. So very insightful conversation. We look forward to having him again, because it's always a pleasure to speak with the man in charge. When it
time
comes
is never
to,
enough.
Protecting and serving, and time, of course, is never enough. And then our second conversation.
Yes, we had members of Beltrade and the SBDC come in to talk to us about how you can save as a small business, but also costing and pricing and budgeting tips. They do have these workshops and sessions that they are delivered for free at Beltrade. So if you do want some assistance in how to properly secure and finance your small business, please give them a call. And of course, we would like to have them back as well to assist us in personal saving tips, budgets, and financing. But Paul, it was a good show this morning. I think I learned a lot from both of our conversations, but we do have to go. But before we go, we want to say a special happy birthday to none other than Shania Carreras. Happy birthday, Shania. It's a beautiful dress in that photograph. From your family and friends, sending you lots of love on your birthday today. And of course, happy birthday from all of us here at Open Your Eyes and Channel 5. Paul, it's September 25th. If it is your birthday today, happy birthday to you. But if you have a shout out, a question, or a comment, you can always drop us a line right here at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also catch our live stream every day on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, and catch our highlights on Instagram at OYE Belize. But please do us the favor and tune in again tomorrow when you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Be sure to keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open.
We'll see you tomorrow, Belize. It's going to be another hot one, so please be safe out there. Drink lots of water. Have a great day. Take care.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.